You can feel it the moment you step into the wrong environment. The air tightens, the shoulders rise, the instincts flicker awake like a flame trembling in the dark. We pretend we don't sense it. We pretend we're rational beings, immune to atmosphere and energy. But let me tell you something, after years of reading human behavior, protecting others, walking into spaces thick with hidden intent, your body knows long before your mind catches up. And there is a kind of energy that grows quietly, like mold in the corners you forgot to check. A kind of heaviness that settles into a place, a group, a culture, until you realize it isn't the place that's unsafe, it's the behavior spiraling inside it. I call these places dark energy cities. Not because they appear on any map, not because they sit behind state borders, but because they exist wherever human dignity shrinks, wherever fear multiplies, wherever values dissolve the way old paint curls off forgotten walls. And if you're not careful, you don't just visit these cities. You start living in them. You start breathing them in. You start becoming them. Let me walk you through these 5 cities. 5 psychological landscapes that exist everywhere and nowhere at the same time. If you recognize one, if you've been walking its streets for too long, if you've been renting emotional real estate inside it, listen carefully, because I'm inviting you not to run, but to wake up. The first city, distortion. This city looks safe at first. It smiles at you. It waves you in with bright lights, loud opinions, hot takes wrapped in certainty, but wander deeper and something feels off. In distortion, truth is malleable. Not in the poetic sense where we grow, evolve, reinterpret. No, here truth is weaponized. Here facts are twisted. Here narratives are designed to inflame, not inform. People speak in absolutes, not because they're right, but because they're afraid, and fear is a dangerous architect. Have you ever stepped into a conversation, a workplace, a relationship where everything seems exaggerated? Where stories come with edges sharpened like knives, where people repeat what they heard, not what they verified? That's distortion, and here's the most dangerous thing about it. The louder the voices become, the more your inner voice quiets. You stop questioning, you stop thinking, you start absorbing. In distortion, the goal isn't to guide your mind, it's to replace it. That's why you avoid this city at all costs. Not because the people are bad, but because the environment feeds on certainty, and when certainty replaces curiosity, growth dies. Ask yourself, where in your life has truth become blurred? Where do you sense manipulation disguised as clarity? Where are you told what to think instead of encouraged to think for yourself? If you know this city, you don't need directions. You've walked its streets before. The second city, drain. This place doesn't announce itself. It doesn't roar. It doesn't threaten. It just takes, little by little, minute by minute, piece by piece. Drain is the city that feeds on your energy, not your fear. It shows up in toxic circles, drama-driven spaces, workplaces that run on chaos, relationships with no reciprocity, environments where everyone wants something from you, but no one wants anything for you. In drain, people don't replenish one another, they feed off one another. And the most dangerous part? It feels normal after a while. You start accepting exhaustion as your baseline. You start confusing depletion with responsibility. You tell yourself, I'm just tired today. But it's not today. It's every day. It's the entire ecosystem. Drain makes you forget who you were before you were tired. Let me ask you something. Where do you feel your energy leaking? Who leaves you empty the moment you walk away? What environments demand your entire emotional paycheck but never deposit anything back? You avoid drain at all costs because it steals what you don't even realize you're losing, your inner fire. The third city, noise. Noise is a city of endless chatter. Opinions like traffic, judgments like billboards, distractions flashing like neon signs against a midnight sky. You can't hear your own thoughts in noise. You can't hear your instincts whispering. You can't hear the subtle, steady voice inside you that says, this is who you are. Noise doesn't want you to hear yourself because once you do, you become harder to control, and make no mistake, control is the currency here. In noise, everything is urgent, everything is loud, everything demands a reaction, but reactions are brittle, unstable, easily manipulated. What's the antidote? Stillness, but noise hates stillness, because a still mind becomes a strong mind, a clear mind, a discerning mind. Ask yourself, what notifications have become chains that shake you from the inside? What voices drown out your own? What environments pull you in and stir you up until you forget your center? Noise is a city built on the human instinct to avoid silence, because silence forces you to meet yourself, and some people spend their entire lives running from that meeting. And now we arrive at the fourth city, a real one, a place you know, a place with millions of heartbeats pulsing through its concrete veins. But remember this, a city is not guilty. A city is only an amplifier. It magnifies whatever energy you bring into it, and whatever energy the people within it allow to grow. So when I speak of this next place, understand, I'm speaking of patterns, not geography. Human behavior, not statistics. Atmosphere, not accusation. The fourth city, Los Angeles, the city of fragmentation. Los Angeles, sunlight, palms, golden skies that look like they were painted by a restless dreamer's hand, but beneath that glow lies a kind of energy that can disassemble a person from the inside out. Fragmentation. LA is a city that runs on performance, appearance, curated identity. You feel it the moment you walk down Melrose, or step into a coffee shop where everyone seems to be both present and absent at the same time. Physically there, but mentally somewhere between ambition and insecurity. In LA, people don't always talk to you, they talk at you, past you, through you, searching for something, a spotlight, an opportunity, a validation they mistake for oxygen, and there's nothing wrong with ambition, but when ambition mutates into self-erasure, when you start reshaping yourself to match a version the world will applaud, you begin to fragment. That's the dark energy growing here. Not violence, not danger, something subtler, more pervasive, identity drift. Here's the truth you learn quickly. You can lose yourself in Los Angeles long before anyone in the city ever learns your name. Have you ever felt that? That slow dissolving of edges? That moment when you begin to wonder if you're the one driving your life, or if your life has begun to drive you. The city whispers, just be what they want. Just adjust a little more. Just shapeshift. You start bending, you start blending, you start contorting yourself into a brand, a persona, a character you hope will be accepted. Fragmentation. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens degree by degree, pixel by pixel, until the image looking back at you is no longer whole. That is why this city belongs on the list. Not because you should avoid Los Angeles, but because you should avoid losing your center within cultures that feed on performance. Remember this. The world doesn't need a polished version of you, it needs the real one. The fifth city, New Orleans, the city of haunting. Now let me take you somewhere else. New Orleans, vibrant, electric, alive with music, history, soul, yet there is a heaviness that lingers in certain corners, an emotional density woven through its stories, its tragedies, its resilience. New Orleans is a city that remembers everything, and that's where the dark energy grows. The energy of what you haven't healed. Some places hold joy. Some hold ambition. New Orleans holds memory. You feel it in the humidity of the night air. You feel it in the slow, aching beauty of the French Quarter. You feel it in the songs. Songs that sound like they were written by ghosts who haven't yet learned to let go. But the haunting I'm talking about isn't supernatural. It's psychological. New Orleans symbolizes the city inside you where old wounds live, where past versions of yourself still wander the streets at midnight, whispering reminders of who you used to be, or who you're afraid you might still be. Everyone has a New Orleans within them, a place where they carry emotional residue, a place where unfinished stories echo. The danger isn't the city, it's what happens when you stay stuck in the past. You know this feeling. Reliving old betrayals, repeating old patterns, holding on to old identities that no longer fit your hands or your heart. It feels familiar. It feels honest. But familiarity is not the same as truth. Some people become permanent residents of the emotional New Orleans, unable to leave, unable to grow, unable to forgive themselves for chapters long closed. Let me ask you something. What story from your past still clings to your present? What memory still has a key to your internal house? What pain have you rehearsed so often it has become its own ritual? Haunting doesn't disappear on its own. It dissolves through acknowledgement, courage, and truth. That is why this city stands on this list, because if you live too long in the realm of old echoes, you become one yourself. The sixth city, Chicago, the city of tension, and now Chicago, a city of grit, steel, resilience forged through repeated rebirths. But Chicago carries something else. something subtle, something complex, tension, not the explosive kind, not the chaotic kind, but the silent pressure that builds within environments, where contrast is sharp and constant. In Chicago, you feel the pull between aspiration and limitation, progress and restraint, belonging and isolation. It's a city that teaches you to stay alert. And alertness, when prolonged, becomes exhaustion. Chicago symbolizes the internal world where you are holding everything together, where you can't let your guard down, where you feel compelled to be strong even when strength is draining through the cracks. Have you ever lived like that? Always on, always braced, always managing instead of living. That's the dark energy here, not danger, but internal compression. A life spent in tension becomes a life lived in reaction. And a life lived in reaction never becomes a life lived in truth. The Chicago within you is that place where you refuse to break, even though breaking might be the first step toward healing. And now, having walked you through 3 real cities, each one a metaphor for human behavior, emotional patterns, and psychological atmospheres, we stand at the threshold of the final part of this journey. But we're not done yet. There is a 7th city, perhaps the most misunderstood, the most misread, the most deceptively bright, a city that doesn't warn you with heaviness or chaos. It whispers through ease, comfort, convenience. And that is why so many people never realize they've slipped into it until years have passed and their inner fire has cooled into quiet ash. The 7th city, Phoenix, the city of numbness. Phoenix is a city born from heat, and yet what grows here is not passion, but numbness. In Phoenix, people chase comfort like it's salvation. They wrap their lives in routine so predictable, so insulated, so temperature-controlled that they forget discomfort is what keeps a person alive, alert, engaged. The streets are wide, the pace is calm, the sun blankets everything with a soft sameness. But sameness, when it becomes a lifestyle, can sedate the spirit. Numbness doesn't feel like danger. It feels like relief, like the absence of friction, like the absence of struggle, like the absence of anything sharp enough to wake you up. But be careful, comfort can be as corrosive as chaos. Here's the paradox. The human spirit isn't built for endless ease. We grow through stretch, through challenge, through friction, through that moment right before you want to quit. But don't. Phoenix represents the life where you stop questioning, stop pushing, stop reaching, where goals become optional, where risk feels unnecessary, where desire dims without ever announcing its departure. Numbness is the kind of dark energy that sneaks in softly, a lowered expectation here, a surrendered dream there, a quiet settling for less. Have you ever felt that? That slow quieting of your own hunger, that gentle floating through days that used to ignite you, that's how numbness wins. Not through force, but through erosion. And once you stop feeling, you stop living. The 8th city, Miami, the city of overstimulation. Now I take you to the opposite landscape, Miami, a place that pulses, vibrates, dazzles with color, motion, appetite, excess. Miami is a city that never whispers, it shouts. And in that constant sensory tidal wave, a new kind of dark energy emerges. Overstimulation. Noise isn't just sound, it's options, temptations, distractions, the pull of instant gratification dressed up as living your best life. In Miami, you feel compelled to keep up with the nightlife, with the fashion, with the lifestyle that says, more is good, excess is better, too much is not enough. And there's nothing wrong with fun, beauty, celebration, but overstimulation steals something precious. Your depth. You become surface level without meaning to. You skim the top of your own life like a speedboat skimming water. No screen, no rush, no soundtrack. Just you, unfiltered. Overstimulation is dangerous because it convinces you you're living full, while keeping you emotionally starved. Miami symbolizes that internal world where you outrun your own stillness, where you chase excitement to avoid introspection, where you seek pleasure to avoid truth. This is dark energy disguised as celebration. Avoid environments that keep you entertained, but empty. The 9th city, San Francisco, the city of disconnection. Now, San Francisco, a city once defined by innovation, creativity, openness, curiosity, a place where ideas soared higher than the fog rolling over the bay. But something has shifted, not in the people, but in the energy. San Francisco has become a symbol of the modern paradox, hyper-connected yet deeply disconnected. People here live side by side, yet worlds apart. Technology hums like a lullaby that comforts and isolates at the same time. Faces glow, not from emotion, but from screens reflecting into their skin. There's a digital haze here, a sense that everyone is everywhere except where they are. And that's the dark energy growing. Emotional isolation. Loneliness isn't empty rooms or silent phones. Loneliness is when you are surrounded by people and still unseen. San Francisco embodies the internal city where you feel separate even in a crowd, where conversations skim instead of sink, where relationships become transactional, where community fractures into individual islands. Ask yourself, where in your life have you replaced connection with convenience? When did you last feel genuinely understood, not just responded to? We live in a world where proximity has replaced intimacy, where access has replaced attention, where networks have replaced relationships. That is the disconnection San Francisco represents. Avoid environments that reward performance but neglect authenticity. Avoid cultures that connect devices but disconnect souls. The 10th city, Atlanta, the city of pressure. And finally, Atlanta, a powerhouse, a hub of ambition, reinvention, cultural influence, a place where people strive, hustle, push, climb. But here's the shadow behind the shine. Pressure. Pressure to succeed, pressure to perform, pressure to make it, pressure to be the exception, pressure to outdo, outpace, outrun. In Atlanta, everyone is building something, but no one tells you that relentless building can become its own demolition, not of structures, but of spirit. Pressure sharpens you until it crushes you. This is the dark energy growing here, the belief that your worth equals your output. Have you ever lived like that? Measuring yourself not by who you are, but by what you accomplish, by how much you produce, by how well you keep up. Pressure convinces you that rest is laziness, that slowing down is failure, that softness is weakness. But a person who never pauses eventually breaks. Atlanta symbolizes that internal world where you are always on, always working, always striving, never arriving. Avoid the environments that celebrate burnout. Avoid the cultures that worship productivity at the cost of humanity. You are not a machine, and you were not meant to live like one. And now we stand at the edge of all these cities, not as tourists passing through, not as critics pointing fingers, but as human beings learning to read the map of our own inner terrain, because the truth is this: these cities are not warnings about America, they are warnings about us. Every place I've described, whether Los Angeles or New Orleans, Phoenix or Miami, San Francisco or Atlanta, is a reflection of a human pattern, a psychological climate, a spiritual weather system that can grow inside any of us. If we don't stay awake, dark energy does not descend on a city like a shadow from the sky. It rises from within us. In the moments we surrender our clarity, our boundaries, our presence, our truth. You've met each of these energies before, haven't you? The fragmentation that pulls you in different directions, the haunting that keeps you tied to what's long gone, the numbness that dulls your instincts, the overstimulation that scatters your focus, the disconnection that isolates you, the pressure that crushes you from the inside. They are not out there, they grow in here. And once you understand that, the script changes completely. This isn't a warning to avoid cities, it's a call to protect your inner one, because every person carries a city within them. A place built from experiences, memories, values, choices, a place where your decisions live, where your beliefs breathe, where your courage sleeps until you wake it. Your inner city deserves protection. It deserves clarity. It deserves vigilance. It deserves truth. But above all, it deserves you. All of you. Not the pieces you give away. Not the fragments that survive after you've scattered yourself thin. Not the version of you shaped to match someone else's script. The real you. The whole you. The one who knows exactly when a space darkens, when an environment drains you, when an energy shifts just enough to make your instincts whisper. Pay attention. Listen to that whisper. It has saved more lives than fear ever has. People think danger announces itself, but danger rarely knocks. It seeps, it settles, it grows in the places where your awareness shrinks. You don't have to see the threat to feel it. You don't have to understand the psychology to sense the shift. Your intuition is a living intelligence. Fast, primitive, ancient, accurate. But intuition weakens when you ignore yourself, when you stop checking in, when you drift, when you become numb, when you disconnect from your own internal compass. So let me ask you something, and answer it honestly. What energy have you been living in lately? What emotional city have you been calling home? Maybe for far too long. Are you in fragmentation, bending until you break? Are you in haunting, looping through old stories that no longer belong to you? Are you in numbness, floating through days without depth? Are you in overstimulation, running so fast you never feel? Are you in disconnection, surrounded but alone? Are you in pressure, performing instead of being? Because if you recognize one of these cities, that's a beginning. Awareness is always the first step back to yourself. You were never meant to be ruled by any environment, internal or external. You were meant to be the architect of your own. Let me give you something real. You can leave any city at any time. You don't need permission. You don't need a plan. You don't need an exit strategy carved into perfect steps. You only need one thing. A decision to no longer feed the energy that drains you, a decision to reclaim the parts of yourself you abandoned in someone else's expectations, a decision to stop performing for people who don't know your worth, a decision to stop carrying stories that were never meant to be your home, a decision to return to the person you were before the world told you who to be. And once you make that decision, truly make it, the city inside you begins to change. The dark energy thins, the fog lifts, the tension loosens, the numbness cracks, the overstimulation settles, the disconnection fades, the pressure dissolves, and something remarkable happens. You begin to hear yourself again. Not the noise, not the expectations, not the echoes of old hurt, not the hum of external influence. You hear you, clear, steady, uncompromised, and in that moment, you become your own city, your own sanctuary, your own strong